"Lower your voice," my husband hissed. I tried to step away. Then his hand struck my face under the ballroom lights. Cameras were everywhere. My name is Samantha Reed. I'm 35 years old. I work as a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized hospitality brand. My husband, Daniel, is a senior executive at his firm. Public image matters to him more than anything else in the world. For years, I stood beside him at events, smiling, supporting his career, never contradicting him in front of anyone who mattered. He liked control. I liked peace. Or at least I convinced myself that's what I wanted. From the outside, we looked polished and successful. Charity galas, business dinners, staged photos for company newsletters. We were the couple people admired. Behind closed doors, disagreements were handled differently, with silence, with intimidation, with quiet reminders about who made the money and who made the decisions. I wasn't loud. I didn't fight publicly. I'd learned early in our marriage that arguing with Daniel in front of others was pointless and humiliating. But I had something he completely underestimated. I understood systems. I understood how institutions work, and I knew that buildings like luxury hotels never miss a detail. They record everything. If you have ever been embarrassed publicly by someone who should have protected you, please subscribe. If you've been told no one would believe you, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments if you've been there. Click like or hype before we continue because some people forget who's really watching. The company gala was held at a luxury downtown hotel ballroom. It was one of those massive events with crystal chandeliers, live jazz, and hundreds of guests. Executives, board members, investors, journalists. Everyone who mattered in Daniel's industry was there. I wore a navy dress he'd picked out weeks earlier. I smiled at the right people, made small talk about quarterly projections and market trends. Everything was going smoothly until I corrected a small financial detail during a conversation with one of his colleagues. It was nothing major, just a clarification about a merger timeline. But Daniel heard me. His jaw tightened. 5 minutes later, he pulled me aside near a decorative marble column. His hand gripped my elbow hard. "What the hell are you doing?" he whispered. I told him I was just having a conversation. He accused me of undermining him in front of investors, making him look incompetent. I told him to calm down. That's when it happened. His hand came across my face. Not hard enough to knock me down, but hard enough to be heard. A sharp crack that cut through the ambient music and conversation. A few guests turned their heads. For a moment, everything froze. Then Daniel laughed, loudly. He waved at the people staring and said something about it being a joke, a playful disagreement between spouses. Some people laughed nervously. Others looked away. I said nothing. I fixed my dress, grabbed my clutch, and left the ballroom. I took a cab home alone. The next morning, he told me I'd imagined it, that I was being dramatic, that no one saw anything. But that was only the beginning. The first betrayal came 2 days later when I ran into one of his colleagues at a coffee shop. She gave me a sympathetic look and asked if I was feeling better. Confused, I asked what she meant. She said Daniel had told everyone at the office that I'd had too much to drink at the gala and gotten emotional, that I'd embarrassed myself and left early. I felt my face flush with anger and humiliation, but I just smiled and said I was fine. The second betrayal happened that weekend. Daniel announced we were attending a board brunch on Sunday. He needed me there to smooth things over, to show everyone we were fine. He said it casually, like he was asking me to pick up groceries. When I hesitated, he reminded me how much his career meant to our lifestyle, how much I benefited from his success. The third betrayal was the threat. When I told him I didn't want to go to the brunch, he got very calm. Too calm. He told me that if I created a scene or embarrassed him again, there would be financial consequences. He reminded me that our accounts were joint but controlled by him, that my salary was nice but not enough to live independently, that I should think very carefully about my next move. For a moment, I felt trapped, small, powerless. But then, something shifted. I stopped reacting emotionally and started thinking strategically. I quietly contacted the hotel events department. I explained that I had personal safety concerns related to an incident at their venue. I requested access to security footage from the gala. The manager was professional and understanding. Within 48 hours, I had copies, multiple angles, clear footage, time-stamped. I watched it once, saved it in 3 different locations, and then I made a list of everyone who was in that ballroom. Board members, investors, media contacts. I knew exactly who had witnessed what. And I didn't confront Daniel. Not yet. Instead, I scheduled a private meeting with the HR department at his company. What Daniel didn't know was that I'd already secured copies of the CCTV footage before he even thought to worry about it. The video was time-stamped down to the second, crystal clear, multiple angles showing exactly what happened. No ambiguity, no room for interpretation. I also saved the guest list from the event, a detailed roster of everyone who attended, every board member, every investor, every journalist. I understood how corporate compliance works because I'd spent years in professional environments myself. His company had a strict conduct policy that applied to all employees, especially senior executives. It covered behavior at company-sponsored events and how employees represented the firm publicly. I'd read the entire employee handbook online. I knew the reporting procedures. I knew what constituted a violation. And I knew that once a formal complaint was filed, the company had legal obligations to investigate. I wasn't going to argue with Daniel at home anymore. I wasn't going to plead or cry or try to make him understand. I was going to let corporate policy speak for me. I was going to let the evidence do the work, and I was going to stay completely silent until the right moment. The person who helped me navigate everything was Rebecca Monroe. She's a senior vice president at my own company, someone I'd worked with on a few cross-promotional campaigns over the years. Rebecca has a reputation in corporate circles. She's smart, ethical, and she doesn't tolerate misconduct. When I reached out to her, I didn't give her all the details at first. I just asked if I could meet privately. We sat in her office on a Friday afternoon. I told her what happened. I showed her the footage. She watched it once without expression, then looked at me and said 3 words: "Document everything. Formally." She walked me through the process, how to file a complaint properly, what language to use, what documentation to include. She reminded me that emotional appeals don't work in corporate settings, but policy violations do. She told me to stay calm, follow procedures, and let the system handle it. Meanwhile, Daniel grew more confident with each passing day. He posted photos from the gala on his LinkedIn, captioning them with something about successful partnerships and memorable evenings. He acted like nothing had happened. One night at dinner, he looked at me across the table and smiled. "No one would believe you," he said casually. "Even if you tried to say something, I've already shaped the narrative." I looked at him and nodded. I agreed to attend an upcoming executive review meeting with him the following week. He seemed pleased. He thought I'd given up. The executive review meeting was held at Daniel's company headquarters in a glass-walled conference room on the 14th floor. Daniel arrived confident, shaking hands with board members, laughing at inside jokes. I sat quietly in the corner, hands folded. What he didn't know was that I'd formally filed a conduct complaint with HR 3 days earlier. I'd submitted the footage, the guest list, and a detailed timeline. I'd followed every procedure exactly as Rebecca had advised. The HR director and the company's compliance officer were both present at the meeting. Daniel didn't think anything of it at first. Executive reviews often included HR. Then the compliance officer stood up. She explained that the company had received a formal conduct complaint related to the gala event. She said the complaint had been reviewed and deemed credible enough to warrant board notification. Daniel's face went pale. He started to speak, but the HR director held up a hand. Then they displayed the CCTV footage, not on a large screen, but on tablets passed to each board member privately. The room went completely silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning, the faint sound of traffic from the street below. I watched Daniel's face as he realized what was happening. The timestamp was visible, the incident was clear. There was no alcohol involved, no joke, no misunderstanding, just a physical strike captured from multiple angles. His earlier claims about me drinking too much were proven false by the footage showing me with a single glass of wine, untouched for most of the evening. The board chair, a stern woman in her 60s, addressed Daniel directly. She asked him to explain the conduct policy violation. He stammered. He tried to minimize it. Then he tried to blame me. That's when I spoke for the first time. One sentence. I said nothing that night. The cameras did. The board placed Daniel on immediate administrative leave, pending a full investigation. No public announcement, no press release, just a quiet internal action that would unfold over the following weeks. The narrative shifted almost immediately. People who had dismissed me or made excuses for him suddenly became very professional and distant. I filed for legal separation 2 weeks later. I moved into my own apartment, a small one-bedroom with hardwood floors and windows that faced east. I didn't post about it online, I didn't make public statements or give interviews. I let the official records speak for me. I let the company's investigation proceed without interference, and I focused on rebuilding my life quietly and deliberately. The reflection I kept coming back to was simple. Silence is not weakness. Silence can be strategy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let systems and evidence speak while you stay calm and prepared. I didn't win because I shouted louder or fought dirtier. I won because I understood how institutions work, and I used that knowledge carefully. If someone tried to embarrass you publicly and then deny it happened, you understand exactly what this feels like. Public image doesn't erase truth. Documentation does. Share your experience in the comments below. Subscribe if you believe evidence matters more than reputation. Click hype to help this story reach others who need to hear it. You're not alone in this. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and click hype to help it reach more people who need to hear it. Your voice matters here. Share your experience in the comments. I'm reading every single one. Thank you for being here.